There's a couple of films that I very rarely shoot. It's a film that maybe you guys shoot for certain reasons, for certain lighting conditions, and that's Ilford Delta 3200 and also Kodak P3200 as well, both very fast films, notoriously known for low light photography or low light conditions. I'm sure most of you have seen Ilford's Delta 3200 film and also Kodak's P3200 film before, but have you ever tried it out? And if you haven't ever tried this film before, you probably think that this film is only for low light photography. And you'd be right, that is exactly what it's designed for. Stage concerts, indoor events, nighttime street photography, just to name a few. And others don't wait for nighttime to come to shoot this film. They'll shoot this film in daylight, even under studio light, because they like the look of it. Or maybe you've got an unstabilised telephoto lens, which is really hard to hand hold because it wobbles everywhere. Oh, bugger. These sort of films are ideal because you can shoot fast shutter speeds with them. But seriously, if you are a handheld wobbler, these lenses might not be for you. This 180mm lens is a beautiful lump of mechanical marvel, but I struggle to keep it steady at speeds less than 250th of a second, especially when I need to shoot quick. You can see the vibration, look at this, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm taking my pictures. If I actually have this handheld and hand hold it, you can see, you know. So that's the struggle that I've got when I'm using this lens with any camera, especially the smaller cameras like the F3 or the FM3A. That's why I'm using the F6 with it. It's just nice and big and chunky, and I can hold it better. But you can see how much wobble I'm getting trying to hold this on the background. That's why I need these fast shutter speeds. It's fine if I want to shoot wide open apertures, I can get faster shutter speeds, but wide open apertures with this lens, it gives me a serious shallow depth of field, and it's not too good for street photography. So if I want to shoot this lens at smaller apertures, then I'm going to need a slower shutter speed, and with a 3200 film, I can get those speeds even if I'm shooting it at 800. And for those that are not too sure of how the aperture and shutter speeds work, here it is in a nutshell. Think of it as your eye. The aperture is your pupil and the shutter speed is the eyelid that blinks. Both control the amount of light that hits your head. And the aperture is just like the pupil in your eye, it opens and closes. And at f2.8 it allows bags of light to enter the camera. And if you close it down to f22, it lets less light into the camera. And the aperture has another trick up its sleeve. The wider the aperture, the more blurry your background will be. The smaller the aperture, the more in focus your background will be. And the shutter speed is how fast the curtain in front of the film opens and closes. Set it to 1 second and the camera stares at the scene, recording light that burns onto the film for that whole entire second, allowing bags and bags of light into the camera, and anything that moves in the scene will become blurry. If you set it to 1/500th of a second, which is pretty fast, faster than your eye can blink, it lets much less light into the camera, and anything in the scene that moves will be pretty much frozen in action. And this is where the aperture and shutter speed have to work together to make a good exposure. So at f2.8 and a shutter speed of 1 second, there is far too much light entering the camera to get a good exposure. You're going to be overexposed. And at f22 and a shutter of 1/8000th of a second, hardly any light is going to enter the camera, so you'll get underexposure. And then there is the film speed to consider as well. A 50 ISO film such as Ilford's Pan F50 is not very sensitive to light, but a 3200 speed film is very sensitive to light. So to use this 180mm lens, I need at least 1/250th of a shutter, even more, and it needs to be that fast for sharper photos handheld. If I shoot less than 1/250th of a second, say at 1/60th of a second, then there's a chance that my photograph will be soft because during that time I haven't been able to keep the lens steady. So on the street I want to shoot at least f8 and more than 1/250th of a second shutter time. Now that's fine in sunlight, and a 400 speed film would be fine. But when the clouds come over and the light drops, I'm in trouble. Or even if I walk into a dark alley, I'm in trouble. And that's when these faster films are useful for this particular lens. It will allow me to shoot smaller apertures so I can get more background focus and faster shutter speeds to eliminate lens wobble. I hope that made sense. Even with a 400 speed film, with this lens I can find myself opening the aperture wide just to get a faster shutter speed, and on the street I don't like to be shooting anything less than f8. On a sunny day it's not so bad, but as soon as you find yourself down a dark alley or the clouds come over, you'd wished you had a faster film in the camera. But by shooting a 3200 film I can get both a small aperture and a fast shutter speed out on the street, even in shade, and I don't even have to meter at 3200. These photographs I took, I metered at 800 ISO and I developed the film for that speed, so I was shooting the film at 800. And if you've shot a 3200 speed film before, you'll know that without care you can get some rather clumpy looking grain. And although these films are labelled 3200, it's not necessarily so. Many say that the actual speed of these films from the factory are 800 to 1000 ISO. And they're designed to be pushed, so the manufacturer will give you the 3200 speed, it will give you the data sheet and the times for developing at 3200, but really they're giving you times for pushing that film, which means you're going to be underexposing and overdeveloping. And when it comes to choosing a specific film for a specific type of photography, you know, we've all got our little quirks and our little tastes of whatever speed we want to shoot. If I'm doing a studio lighting set or whatever, I usually go for an FP4. If I'm out on the street, I might go for a Tri-X 400 or a HP 5400 as well. And those films I can push a little bit. But one film that I very rarely go to is a 3200, especially for outside stuff. And I don't do a lot of indoor events, so it makes sense that I wouldn't really go for that film. But I guess a lot of you guys, when you see 3200 speed film online or in a shop, you think, nah, I don't really need that. I'm not going to be shooting low light. But can it be useful in daylight? I've just stopped here to take this photograph looking up at this building here, woodwork building, but what caught my eye was the reflection in the glass on the clouds, and some clouds there as well. Using a 28mm, I just took a shot. And this shot here, I'm shooting f11 and I only got 1/60th of a second out of it. In fact, I used the exposure compensation here, just +1, just because I had a feeling I need to just overexpose a little bit. So that gave me 1/60th of a second at f11. And if these films' true speed are 800 or 1000 ISO, that means this film is really versatile. It means you can pull the film or you can push the film to 1600, 3200 and beyond. If you shoot it wrong, if you expose it wrong, or if you develop it wrong, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble with trying to recover the images. And once you do that, you're going to start introducing its grain, structure and contrast, and everything in the print starts looking a bit clumpy. And this is the experience that I've had in the past that's put me off shooting 3200 speed film. Last week I was at the photography show in London, and although I've got this stuff in the fridge, I didn't take it with me. I envisioned the photography show would be nice and brightly lit, and you know, I didn't need any use of a fast film. Really, I should have stuck a roll in the bag, but I didn't. I put a couple of rolls of 100 film inside my bag and thought, well, if I need a bit more speed, I can push it to 400, no problem. But when I turned up at the show, it was so dim in there, I felt anyway, for photography, and it was. I had to go straight to the Ilford stall, have a quick chat with those guys, and I got 2 rolls of 3200. I only shot 1 roll, but buying that 3200, it served me well. And I only shot it at 1600 because I didn't want to push it to 3200. So I shot it at 1600. And developed it in 510 PYRO, and I got some really nice results. But most of those photographs that I was taking, I was shooting around, I was wide open on the aperture at sort of f2.8, and I was shooting at mostly around 1/25th of a second. And sometimes in certain conditions I put the compensation, the exposure compensation on +1 stop, so I was overexposing here and there. But it is an excellent film, even though people have had bad results with it. Many people have great results with it, and they use it religiously for their photography for whatever reasons, for their creative reasons. Maybe they want to bring all that grain out for a certain reason. Some photographers like doing that. And you get this film, you buy it, and it says 3200 on the box. Of course, you're going to shoot it at 3200. Not many people read up on it and find its true speed, etc., or how versatile it is. Most people, like myself, will just grab this, stick 3200 in the camera and go off and shoot it. And when they develop it, they get the scans back or whatever your negative, they notice that the grain is quite large. And if you're shooting that film at 3200, it looks like you're already underexposing by a couple of stops. And the mistakes can happen if your metering in the camera, say for example, isn't working that great, and you accidentally underexpose another stop beyond that, or maybe 2 stops, so you're underexposing 4 stops, you're going to end up developing and getting very thin negatives. But that's going to bring all the grain out as well when you try and compensate for that in Photoshop or in the darkroom, trying to get the detail back out of the print. You're going to bring all that grain to the surface, and that's when this film starts looking clumpy, contrasty, it don't look that great. So it is pretty specific when you're exposing and developing this type of film. But I've tried developing this film in all sorts. In fact, I did a video a couple of years ago where I had shot this film at different speeds and using different developers to see what results I got. If you're interested in that video, I'll put a link in the description. It goes quite in detail with it. I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but if you want to watch that, there's a link in the description. I haven't shot this film for quite some time because I keep thinking to myself, you know, but maybe I can slot this in somewhere with some of my projects or some of my photography, maybe some portraits, and control it a bit better with the exposure and also the developing. And I didn't leave anything to chance when I developed that P3200 from the streets. So I loaded the film into the camera and I shot a few shots of it, cut it out of the camera, and then I went off and developed it at a certain time in the 510 PYRO. I realised that the time was too short because the negatives looked a bit thin and a bit flat. So I just bumped the time up on the film that I exposed up the high street, and that worked a treat. They come out looking really nice. So I've got my times for this P3200 and I'll write them down. The Ilford Delta 3200 will be different, but for now I've got my times for that Kodak P3200, which I can go off and shoot whenever I feel creative, and even if I want to push it and get more grain, you know, I can do. It's just a case of getting used to a certain film. So it's all well and good taking these negatives and scanning them and putting them into Photoshop, you know, and playing with the sliders. I didn't do too much in Photoshop, literally just changed a bit of contrast, pulled it down, pulled the highlights up, and that was it. But, you know, I've got a darkroom. I'm always making prints, so it makes sense to make sure that it looks okay on paper. So I've had some of this 3200 film in my fridge for some time. I don't shoot enough low light photography to, you know, to buy that stuff in a bulk load. And although I have thought about using it before for certain reasons, for faster shutter speeds, out in daylight, pulling it, etc., I've always gone with my FP4 and pushed that. But there are going to be times when a 3200 will come in handy. Not only that, I could use it for creative reasons as well. If I want to put grain into my images and make it look a bit grungy and a bit grunty, I can do so. So yeah, you kind of forget about films sometimes, and I think 3200 is one that I'd forgotten about purely because I had some rough times with it in the past. I need to do a little bit of dodging on this building. It's a little bit dark on one side, but we'll get through it. 1, 2, there. And that's it. Let it soak into the paper and develop it. So, but that's the thing though, I did realise, you know, I'm going to a photo show. If I needed more film, that was the thing. If I needed more film, I knew that Ilford was going to be there. Analog Wonderland was there, and there's a few other stands selling film as well. But I didn't anticipate in having to get 3200, I must admit. And the thing with the 3200 film, the silver content must be more silver content inside. We all know that a 3200 film has got bigger clumps of silver particles inside compared to the other lower speed films. So it makes sense, it's more expensive. That roll cost me £12 or something a roll from the Ilford stand. Whereas what, FP4, if I shoot FP4, that's generally around what, £8, £9 a roll. So, you know, 3200 is handy to have in the fridge, but it's expensive if you're going to shoot it all the time. This has come out wrong. It's because I'm talking too much. I've got to concentrate on the print. It's because I had this light on over here. There you go, turn that light off. It was too bright. It's fogged the paper a little bit. But it was a good show to go to, the London Photography Show. There was quite a few stalls there for film photographers. I suppose there was about 5%, I would say, film photography stuff going on. But it was nice to meet people and say hello to people and chat film with other people as well as the stall holders. So I'm glad that I took a camera, but I did that purposely. I didn't want to vlog it, but I just wanted to take pictures of people at this show. So and that's what I got. And some of them I quite liked, especially the ones with the mannequin with the lens stuck on there with gaffer tape. I found that a little bit quirky, a little bit weird, and I thought, well, that'll be interesting to take a photograph of. I didn't understand what that was about, but there you go. But it was a good show to go to anyway. Right, hopefully this one should be okay. It's done it again. I've got foggy paper. What on earth is going on here? I know what it is. It's my camera. It's this. Let's turn that the other way around. In fact, let's close it. Just realised what it is. I'll show you that fogginess in a moment. I had the screen looking at me and I've got it on auto settings, so it's brighter than usual. I thought for once I'll try auto settings, and it's pointing at me, but it's fogging the paper. Wow, how sensitive is that? And I found taking pictures of those guys with the VR headsets on, that was quite fun because they couldn't see you. So I was taking advantage and getting these straight on photographs, only a few, of these guys wearing these headsets. I did get a few people chuckling away while I was taking those pictures because of the cheek of it, I suppose. They can't see you and you're up close taking a photograph of them. So this is the Delta 3200. That's the first print I made. You can see the where I fogged it with the camera screen looking at me. Look at this, all around the edges. I was getting worried at first. When I turned the light off, I thought I'm still getting fogged, and then I realised what was going on. And then that's the print I've just done. It's still wet. It still needs to be dried out yet, but you can now see a difference between the inertia of the paper. The sky's a little bit lighter. I've dodged this building, so it's a little bit lighter, and I burned this building back in. So I'm happy exactly the way this one has come out. And there's that one there with the bikes, with the P3200. Muddy bikes, real gritty looking photograph. I've got the nice depth of field that I wanted. A little bit blown out in the background. I needed to burn that in a little bit more. But other than that, it looks nice, nice print. The grain isn't that bad at all. And this was shot at 800. I can see the grain across the tubular parts of the bike. But, you know, it is what it is. And this is the last print I made. I actually like this one. I wasn't going to print it, but I just like the way the clouds are reflecting and the way that I composed it. Yeah, just personal choice. I liked it, but I mainly printed this because there's a lot of sky in it. This is the Kodak P3200, so the other photograph with the bikes didn't show the sky, so it's not really going to show the grain. And I'm looking around this print. You can see in this area here, we've got grain, and obviously we're going to have grain, but this was shot at 800, and the grain is pleasing. It's not ugly, it's not golf ball size. It's worked out really well. So let us know in the comments, guys, if any of you shoot 3200 for any particular projects, or what you like about the film or what you don't like about the film. Have you had bad experiences in the past with these 3200 films? Let us know in the comments for me and everyone else to read. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. I'll catch you next time.